Hi, Terry VanNoy. Welcome to Math Class with Terry V. Hope this video helps you out, and if you enjoy it, please share it, comment, or like it. And you can also go to my website, MathPowerLine.com. It's a math resource blog, lesson videos for students, and other resources for parents and teachers. Give me a call or go to my website or email. All right, let's go to today's lesson. We're focusing lately on hyperbolas, and hyperbolas, of course, is a special shape that has a formula or an equation where you have to be able to complete the square. So let's take a look at what we've got. Completing the square, as you know, hopefully by now, in previous videos I've gone over this, you take half of the middle term in a trinomial, you square that, and that will complete the square. And the goal, of course, is to be able to write it in this form, which is pretty critical in being able to determine something about a circle, ellipse, hyperbola, or maybe even just solving a quadratic equation. So we have to know how to find this third term and use that. That's called completing the square. Now, hyperbola formula in standard form looks like this. And notice the subtraction sign between these two x and y groups. If it's a plus sign, actually it turns into an ellipse. All right, something kind of interesting there. So the hyperbola, you want to make sure you have a subtraction sign in between. Now the h and the k in this form determine the center. And the center is, of course, halfway between the two vertexes of the hyperbola. The a and the b values, notice how they're squared down here in these denominators. So whatever the numbers are, you take the square root to find a and b, and that gives you sort of the dimensions of the hyperbola. All right, and that's this, what I call the cushion rectangle. The rectangle determines those asymptotes, which is how we draw the hyperbola. The hyperbola's legs, if you will approach the asymptotes in those four different directions, but never touch. All right, so basically we use this rectangle to determine the asymptotes. So you have an h and a k and an a and a b, and you have to have one on the other side. So we have got to use some algebra rules here to make sure that we can write it in the form that we can to graph the hyperbola. So in this problem set, this is problem set 5, I'm going to give you these two problems to do. You try them first, so pause the video and then I'll work this out with you. Alright, the very first thing on number 3 we do is move the constant to the other side. And then we need to make sure we group the x's and the y's together and factor out a common factor. So we notice that we can factor out a 9 from the x's and a negative 16 from the y's. And the reason why it's negative 16 is because in the hyperbola formula we need to have a subtraction in between here. So let's complete the square. Half of 18 is 9, and square it, 81. Half of 8 is 4, square it, that's 16. All right, now the net result is we really added 729 there, because it's not just 81, it's 9 times 81, right? And we also had a negative 16 times 16. Which is minus 256. Now the net result here with these two green amounts is 473. All right, want to make sure we keep it balanced. And that's kind of the trickiest part of this whole thing, is keep track of what you're really adding in there to complete the square. Factoring our trinomials will give us x minus 9 squared and y minus 4 squared. And our final step, divide everything by 576 because we need to have a 1 on the right hand side. And there you go, there's your answer that you saw, of course, a few minutes earlier. That's after we factor out a common factor and get 64 on the bottom, 36 on the bottom there. All right, now let's look at number 4 and I'll work that out. All right, let's take a look at number 4, and you can see the answer ahead of time, but let me work that out and we'll make sure if you missed it or don't understand it, I'll show you how we get that answer. Again, you want to move the constant over, and notice in this case it's a negative 145 by the time we add the opposite there. Now let's group the x's and the y's together and factor out a common term. So we're going to factor out a 49 from the x terms, and that'll leave me with x squared plus 6x. Let's complete the square. Half of 6 is 3, and square it. We're going to actually factor out a -1 from the y squareds. Remember, we need a subtraction sign right there. So that changes my -20y to a +20y. We complete the square. Half of 20 is 10, and square it. So the net result is that we have added 441. And -100. Okay, don't forget about the negative sign there. So net result is that we are going to add 341 to each side. Factor those trinomials. So that's going to be x plus 3 squared and y plus 10 squared. And now the final step is to get 1 on the right hand side, so we divide everything by 196. Alright, so that's why I have 196 under the y group and 4, because that's simplifying the 49 and the 196. So again, by looking at that, we should be able to tell our center point and our A and our B amounts for that rectangle cushion to draw the hyperbola. Alright, great. Thanks for trying this, and I appreciate you watching these videos. Send me some comments if you'd like. Bye. Alright, there you have it. I invite you to go to my website now, MathPowerLine.com, or email me or give me a call. The way I work best with students is live, online in my classroom. So if I can help you in any way, answer some specific questions, the first lesson with me is free as I show you how everything works. Alright, study hard and take care.